Hello and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 7th of November. This is for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you an overview of what we can all expect collectively, but please stay with me. I will then dive deep to give you in forensic detail each of the signs from Aries through to Pisces and the key influences for each of those. Now, this week sees on Tuesday a total lunar eclipse, an event which is going to provide an influence for the next 6 months. Now, the sign of Taurus where this occurs is actually where the moon is rather happy. It's exalted in the sign of Taurus, so it's its second favourite location after being domiciled in the sign of Cancer, but it's very close to the planet of disruption, Uranus. And if you recall, over the last couple of years, Uranus and the planet of restriction, Saturn, in the sign of the collective, Aquarius, have off and on been grating in an attritional and stressful right angle called a square. Now that threads its way through this event. Now, we also have close to the Moon and Uranus the North Node, a very significant point in terms of our collective destiny, but on the other side of the heavens, we have the Sun, Mercury and Venus all in Scorpio. The significance of the cluster in Taurus, the cluster in Scorpio and the position of Saturn is they're all in fixed signs. Fixed signs prefer continuity. They're happier with knowing how things are, maintaining a degree of stability. So Uranus is pushing us to be more outspoken about our rights in terms of our self-worth. So we're seeing a lot of protest and dissent, but also we're seeing the cost of living crisis, and a lot of that is because the second house of Taurus governs food and food distribution. Now obviously we also have the sign of Taurus being an earth sign, very much about the environment and the cost of utilities to heat our homes, to cook with, to light our homes as well. All these are hot topics. So the way people are relating to the right angle between Uranus and Saturn, and have been over the last couple of years, whether it's big government, big business, individuals, collective associations, such as citizens, finding an outlet through social media, or perhaps union output, is that everybody has a different take on how they want changes to occur. And it's obvious that some kind of reset is occurring, and we need to try to adapt to deal with this, and it's really not easy. Now, concurrent to this, the two rulers of the sign of Scorpio are in conflict, Mars and Pluto. So Pluto's in the part of the horoscope that's to do with wanting to maintain the old world order, so big government, big business. But Mars is in the part of the zodiac which is to do with how we think and articulate our ideas, but it's now in retrograde. But they're not on good terms. So this adds to the strident mix that's bubbling up. Also, Mars is in a right angle to Neptune, the planet of dreams and the ephemeral world. And this is creating a lot of illusions, a lot of dishonesty, quite honestly. And we're finding that more and more stories about corruption and dishonesty, particularly around money and people looking out for their friends when they have influence, or we're also seeing sexual impropriety. A lot of stories are coming to the open. So all of this is going to be quite a feature over the next 6 months. But please stay with me as I decipher all of this for each of your 12 zodiac signs. But if you would like to understand what year 2023 will hold for you as an individual based on Sirius astrology, and rise above your zodiac forecast, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data of time, date and place of birth, I can produce your forecast for next year. And in my special package, you get the rest of this year free, and also your life roadmap, your character analysis, which helps you to understand some of the patterns that have repeated themselves, perhaps more difficult energies, but also help you to have greater understanding of your opportunities. And there's 30% off. Please see the link below. Finally, if you're new to my channel, thank you so much for joining me. I'd love it if you would subscribe. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. If you're an ongoing viewer, thank you so much for all your support. So Aquarius, your week commencing the 7th of November forecast sees your professional situation really quite encouraging. Mercury and Venus flank the Sun. Mercury's closer. Mercury in the 10th house points towards perhaps raising your profile through communicating the depth, Scorpio, of your talents and skills, but also perhaps the ability to cultivate relationships with people who are influential. So that gathering together on its own is really helpful. However, the total lunar eclipse is in your 4th house, and having the position of Uranus in your 4th house has been very disruptive since 2018 for those 5 months, particularly for very early born Aquarius people, because during 2018, from mid-May to mid-October, Mars was just right at the start of Aquarius and then went through a retrograde, but that square with Uranus started then, which was quite turbulent. And then once Uranus moved into Taurus full-time from March the 9th 2019 through till now, it really has been shaking things up. So that may have seen that part of you that really likes space, developing new interests and hobbies that gives you a bit more personal freedom, always important for Aquarius people. Or perhaps you've moved because you wanted to change the environment that you function in, or perhaps you've physically changed your home to create more space by adapting it, or perhaps there's been people who've left your home, returned to your home. Things have been quite disrupted around home and family really since that point. So that all comes up to the boil, and of course the last couple of years your two rulers have been in conflict, Uranus and Saturn. They represent different energies. Saturn's about the slow sort of approach, the more considered, and the appreciation you have of traditions and routines, versus that rebel-raising part of your nature that can like to shake things up and embrace new and novel things. But the two have just not been collaborating very well, and that all feeds into this eclipse. So over the next 6 months, I think the energy that's really been quite challenging for many water bearers in the last 2 years is finally going to work its way out in a way that you finally understand what's about right for you in terms of how you can influence things. Obviously, when we're in situations where we feel we have much less control, that can be much more difficult in terms of giving us a sense of feeling in charge of our destiny. But if you are able to affect things, I think things will really start to settle down by the start of December. But if you don't feel you're able to affect things, whether it's to do with where you live or how you work, the confinement that Saturn has brought could be quite tough on this lunar eclipse. What are the good things of it? Well, I think that Uranus can bring to the fore on the moon that part of you that can be very authentic. You know, people don't always like Aquarius people for speaking their truth, but at least you will speak your truth. So something may need to be spoken out. Maybe in your professional situation, it's work from home, or the office environment isn't quite working for you. Maybe it's nothing actually to do with your home situation. It's more to do with your environment vis-a-vis your professional desires. So there's a lot of contrasts and paradoxes that are threaded through this week. Mars, of course, in retrograde in your 5th house of romance, self-expression, showing off. You know, it's a very Leonian place for Mars to be, but it's slowed down. And in the square with Neptune, it's saying, don't be too quick to, you know, to put in resources into anything that's a bit risky. But I think essentially what you're trying to do is just get the right balance between, you'll need to be true to who you are, fit into the wider world and be successful, but it feels comfortable in terms of your emotional role within it all. And that's pretty much what this week and this eclipse is about for you.